right. So, good morning, everyone. I'm Annie Sims. I'm the Public Information Officer for the Winston-Salem Police Department. I want to thank you all for coming to the Public Safety News Conference this morning. I would like to remind everyone who is the public to sign in on the sign-in sheet. And it is my honor to actually introduce Fire Chief Mayo up to start their presentation for the fire department.
Thank you, Annie. Good morning, everybody. I'm Trey Mayo. I'm the fire chief for the city of Winston-Salem. We have several items this week or this month. I'm going to start off with a couple of line of duty death remembrances that we have for firefighters who have died in the line of duty. Their anniversary has passed since our last public safety news conference. On February 10th, 1934, Fire Lieutenant Gilbert Firefighter Joe Whitlow died in the line of duty February 24th, 1911, and was the first line of duty death suffered by the Winston Fire Department. Shortly after midnight, firefighter Whitlow responded with ladder 2 to a commercial building fire in the old Farmers Warehouse located at the corner of Liberty and Trade Streets. Whitlow was killed as a result of a building collapse. He was 36 years old and left behind a wife and 4 children. It was estimated that 5,000 people attended his funeral. On February 10th, 1934, Fire Lieutenant Gilbert W. Kimball responded with Engine 6 to a house fire at the corner of Bidding and Country Club Roads. On arrival, they found heavy fire conditions in a detached garage. Lieutenant Kimball and another firefighter entered the garage to conduct interior fire suppression operations. Both firefighters were injured after part of the heavy timber garage roof collapsed on them. They were transported to Baptist Hospital for what were believed to be non-life-threatening injuries, but Lieutenant Kimball succumbed to his injuries overnight on February 11th. He was 32 years old. If you will, join me in a moment of silence to remember these 2 fallen firefighters. Thank you. Next up, I wanted to bring your attention to the fact that March 25th through the 29th is Grain Safety Week. So when we're talking about grain safety, typically we are talking about agricultural workers who are working in grain tanks, grain bins, silos, and what happens when these employees get themselves in a bind is sometimes with augering operations. So what you see here is a worker was standing on top of the grain, and an augering operation is happening and pulling grain out of the bottom of the tank, and it creates sort of a funnel, and the employee is caught in the grain as that grain kind of funnels down, and the worker becomes trapped. And what happens is when you get all that grain around you, every time the worker breathes out, that grain kind of creeps in on them because of the weight of the grain. And after a few breaths, there's so much weight of grain on the worker that they can't inhale anymore, and they suffocate. Another way this happens is kind of with a slough in. When grain gets wet or moldy, sometimes it sticks up on the side of the tank, and a worker can be trying to dislodge that grain, and the grain sloughs in on him or her and buries the worker. And then, so what you see here on the left is called a grain bridge. Again, wet, moldy grain sometimes will form a hard crust, hard enough that somebody thinks what they're walking on is solid, but once they get their full weight on it and kind of get out in the center of that grain bridge, it collapses and they become entrapped in the grain. Just a couple of statistics. I thought it was interesting that American farmers produce 19 billion bushels of grain of corn and soybeans annually. That's from about 198 million acres of farmland. I think that's pretty impressive. But this can happen in other situations other than just corn and soybeans. It could be other grains, wheat, barley, rye, wood pellet drying operations. There are all sorts of situations that where employees could become trapped in material similar to grain. And here you see the fatality rate of grain entrapments for the last year that data are available in 2022. Over a third of those who become trapped in a grain die. And the experience we saw in 2022 was a 45% increase in grain emergencies over the year prior in 2021. So as rescue workers, the way we remove victims who have been entrapped in grain or other material like that is through what's called a grain shield or a grain sleeve. And there are various iterations of it on the market, but here is one that you're looking at here. This is a metal grain shield. And this is the way they work. So you see here a worker who is trapped in grain, and you put the grain shield around them, and then you are able to remove the grain from around the worker without the grain outside the grain shield just continuing to run in as the rescue workers try to remove it. So that's the way it works. The Winston-Salem Fire Department is not in possession of a grain shield. There are grain storing and drying operations in the city of Winston-Salem. So this is certainly a risk that we have in the city, but don't have the piece of equipment to address this specific type of rescue. This morning, we are fortunate to have some representatives from Farm Bureau here to present the Winston-Salem Fire Department a check so that we can purchase a grain shield and include this with our technical rescue equipment. I want to start out by thanking retired Captain Scotty Emerson, who was involved with Farm Bureau. He was the initial he initially got this conversation started where we landed with Farm Bureau donating the money so that we can purchase this piece of equipment. And joining us this morning is Edgar Miller, who is president of the Forsyth County Farm Bureau Federation. And joining him is Callie Carson, who is the safety team lead field representative for Farm Bureau. I'm going to ask them to come up and present the check and make a remark or two if they would like. And at the conclusion of that, Ms. Teresa Knox, who is the fire department's risk reduction specialist, is going to come up and talk about electric vehicle fire safety, fire lanes, and the fact that you should not park in them. Close Before You Doze, which is a national campaign she'll talk about, and finally, home fire sprinklers. Again, thank you all for being here, and for those of you at home, we appreciate you watching. Mr. Miller. Okay.
Thank you, Chief. Forsyth County Farm Bureau is not only an insurance company, we're a separate entity we do have what we call the Federation. And most people aren't aware, as I was sharing with Chief Moe earlier in the morning, we have 17,000 members in Forsyth County. Farm Bureau is the largest farmer organization in the world and nationally, and North Carolina is second out of the whole nation in membership. So it's a great pleasure for us to present you with this check. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our state director, Callie Carson, if you'd like to say a few words. She's our safety person for all of North Carolina. Callie?
Thank you. We're proud to make this donation to the city of Winston-Salem. It only takes 4.5 seconds for someone to become entrapped, to become pinned, 22 seconds in grain to become fully entrapped. The problem with being in grain and being entrapped in grain is the pressure and the weight from the grain, the kernels, whether it's corn or soybeans that are around the person that's entrapped. Every time that person breathes and exhales, the weight of the grain puts more and more pressure, which means they slowly suffocate. It's a terrible death for those who are there trying to save. It's for the person that is entrapped. It's a horrible way to remember a loved one, a family member, a worker if they become entrapped in a grain bin. Some things that we like to remind our farmers is that you should never work in grain bins alone. You should always have the right PPE, personal protective equipment, which includes a harness and rappelling gear, so that if you do become entrapped, you're already wearing the necessary equipment to be extracted, and to have the phone numbers of those around you that rescue personnel that have access to a rescue tube in the case of an entrapment, and especially that those who have the rescue tube know how to use it properly, so that once they get to the scene, they don't make the entrapment worse by cutting holes in the grain bin and causing the pressure to get higher. But we're really proud to do this because there is a large corn extractor, Corn USA, that's located in Winston-Salem that has lots of grain bins. So one life saved is worth the $4,000 that's being donated. Is worth significantly more. There's no value that we can put on a life.
You all want to stand on that side of the check. I'll stand on this side. And I just want to say again to Farm Bureau, thank you so much for being such a great community partner.
Thank you. It was all right.
Good morning. With the popularity of electric vehicles increasing, we would like to take this opportunity to share several fire safety tips. Before buying an electric vehicle, have a qualified technician install a new dedicated circuit for your EV charging device. Older home wiring may not be suitable for use with EV supply equipment. Follow manufacturer's guidelines when charging your vehicle. Purchase a charging device that is certified by a nationally recognized testing laboratory. Place all charging device components out of reach of children. Plug level 1 EV chargers directly into an outlet designed to handle the amperage of the charging device. Never use a multi-plug adapter or an extension cord. No matter what you drive, we ask that you please do not park in a fire lane. Fire engines not only need to be able to travel to their destination, but when they get there, they need to be able to get close enough to any building to effectively deploy hose lines, access fire hydrants, and access fire department connections. Ladder trucks also need adequate room to set up rescue and laddering operations. Because homes burn faster today, it is imperative that we have every opportunity without the obstruction of vehicles to act quickly and safely. We also want you to do everything that you can to be safe in your home. Over a decade of research conducted by UL Fire Safety Research Institute proved that a simple behavioral change, closing the door, could have a potentially life-saving impact during a fire.
Oh my God, that is insane.
In the event of a fire, who here thinks that you're safer sleeping with the doors open?
I keep them open because I was a mom for so long.
My kids' room is 2 doors down from mine.
Always open.
I'm not all that confident they would stop anything anyway.
As you think about fire safety, what keeps you up at night?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned.
I probably don't think about a fire threat as much as I should because I do forget to turn things off often.
Lower County Emergency Services Training Center, we essentially turned this place into a laboratory. We've got several structures around here that we build to simulate where you live. And one of those structures is right here behind me. What I want you to do is I want to take you inside here, and I want you to see how this looks like your home. And then once we get you outside, we're going to go ahead and recreate what would happen if there was a fire in this structure right here. Look pretty normal? Yeah, got some furnishings. You'll notice the difference down here as we walk down. This bedroom door will be closed, and the one at the end of the hall will be open. And what I want you to do is pay attention to the comparison of the two of those and think about you and your family trying to survive this fire.
It's scary, right? It's really bang. Look, we have smoke coming out over here already.
Smoke's coming out. What a lot of people don't realize is that the furnishings that are in our homes today are made of synthetic materials. So they burn so much faster than your old natural cotton-filled furnishings used to be. The statistics that we've seen through our research is in about 40 years ago, you had about 17 minutes to get out of your house after the smoke alarm sounded. Now you have less than 3 minutes.
Holy crap. See, this is the things that we were... Whoa. Can you feel that?
How can you survive that?
Seriously.
As you remember, closed door on the left, open door on the right. And you can see the dramatic difference between the two with the simple closed door.
Impressive.
We want people to be as prepared as possible and understand the importance and how little time you have and what that simple barrier can provide to you and your family should you have a fire.
As you can see, a closed door can slow the spread of fire, reduce toxic smoke levels, improve oxygen levels, and decrease temperatures dramatically. And that could make a life-saving difference in your home. Today's 1 and 2 family homes are dangerous for residents and for first responders, burning faster and failing quicker. Installing home fire sprinklers uniquely protects residents, property, and the firefighters who respond. If a fire occurs, the sprinkler closest to it activates automatically in response to the high heat from the fire, controlling the flames, reducing the spread of toxic smoke, and providing time for occupants to escape. If you plan to build or buy a home, ask for fire sprinklers. Winston-Salem Fire Department has made home fire sprinkler education and advocacy a priority, and in doing so, we are recognized as a built-for-life fire department. For more information on home fire sprinklers, please go to our website, cityofws.org, and the residential sprinkler extension on this slide. Also, we encourage you to follow us on the X platform, formerly known as Twitter, at cityofwsfire. Thank you, and it is my honor to introduce Police Chief William Penn.
Good morning. I'm William Penn, Jr., Chief of Police of the Winston-Salem Police Department. And before I begin, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all of the wonderful employees at the Winston-Salem Police Department for what they do on a day-to-day basis to keep this community safe. Today, the police department will have 2 presentations, Booze It and Lose It by Sergeant Ray, as well as Scams by Sergeant Caffey. But before the presentation, now's the time we take to honor our fallen officers, the anniversaries of those officers since we last met. We'll start with Police Officer Donald Allred, and his end of watch was Monday, January 3rd, 1983, and his cause of death was he was struck by a vehicle. Police Officer Robert Betrago, end of watch Saturday, January 15th, 1994, cause of death is gunfire. Senior Police Officer Michael Ray Jennings, end of watch Tuesday, January 29th, 1993. His cause of death was an automobile accident. Sergeant Howard Pluff, end of watch Friday, February 23rd, 2007, and his cause of death was gunfire. Police Officer Stephen Levi Amos II, end of watch was Tuesday, February 28th, 1995, and cause of death was gunfire. We now have a moment of silence to honor those fallen heroes who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. This time, I'll bring up Sergeant Ray.
Good morning. I'm Sergeant Josh Ray with the Winston-Salem Police Department, assigned to the Forsyth County DWI Task Force. The Forsyth County DWI Task Force is comprised of Winston-Salem Police Department, Forsyth County Sheriff's Office, and Kernersville Police Department. Currently, we're in our 14th year of operation, and we're the first DWI task force in North Carolina. This year, in conjunction with the Governor's Highway Safety Program, the Winston-Salem Police Department, as well as the Forsyth County DWI Task Force, are participating in the 2024 St. Patrick's Day Booze It and Lose It campaign. This campaign will run from, it started on March 11th, and it's going to run through March 17th. We encourage everyone to go out and have a good time during this holiday, but be responsible. The time to make a decision about transportation is not once you have started drinking, but prior to leaving your house. We encourage you to use ride sharing, such as Uber, Lyft, a designated driver, but please think about things before you get behind the wheel of the car. Hope everyone has a safe and happy St. Patrick's Day, and thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Sergeant Caffey.
Good morning, I'm Sergeant Caffey. I've been assigned to the Criminal Investigations Division, Financial Crimes Unit for about 2.5 years now. Here to talk about scam prevention. It's probably one of the largest type of cases that comes through our case management system. Just some of the key points to think about when talking to people on the phone who you don't know. The individual is going to contact you first. You just never know who you're going to be talking to on the other end of the phone. They're going to dangle different kinds of bait in front of you to get you to send them money in the end. They're also going to be looking for your personal information and for you to wire money, send money through gift cards, put money in Bitcoin machines, things that you probably would never have thought about. Just some other points to think about. Law enforcement does not contact the public to request money if you've missed court. If you have failed to appear for something, that's not something we do. If you get calls like that, please hang up and notify your local agency. You can file reports online through LexisNexis, through our online telephone reporting system with the police department. Just some other things to think about. When you give money away voluntarily to scammers over the telephone or the internet, a lot of times those funds are non-recoverable. Once you give them away, the banks are not going to reimburse you because you've willfully compromised your account or given the money away. Again, please feel free to report things to LexisNexis. They come through our case management system. They get reviewed. If there appear to be some sort of leads that we can follow up on, we will. Otherwise, it's more or less a report for you to contact your bank or insurance company to make a claim that way. I think the key takeaway and moral of this story is don't give money to strangers over the telephone or the internet. Probably the safest thing to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. This concludes the March 2024 Public Safety Press Conference. Until next time, stay safe, Winston-Salem.